The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Wagner Show, powered by Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look on a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and today. We're here with a wonderful lady living in Los Angeles at the Cedars, which feels like a hotel, almost like her own personal little studio. She's an iconic fashion designer. She was born and raised in southern China and now living in Los Angeles. She's the owner of Sue Wong Universe, and she also brought the haute couture to the masses at affordable prices. And she also does dress designs with contemporary twists based on old Hollywood glamour style. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful Cedars, and it makes me want to stay, almost like a hotel, checks in the mail, and I'm going to send it up to her live, ladies and gentlemen, from beautiful Los Angeles, Sue Wong. Sue, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mike, and audience. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really deeply honored to be on your show. And no, the Cedars is not a hotel. It is my personal iconic home. If you want me to, I can tell you a little bit about its glorious and illustrious history. It was conceived in the 20s. It actually took about 5 years to build. So it was started in 1921, finished in 1926, and it was the child, the creative child, that was birthed by a visionary French artist by the name of Maurice Tournier, who came from Paris to Los Angeles to Hollywood at the height of the silent golden era of Hollywood. And it sits in the hills of Hollywood East, which is also known as Los Feliz. And, you had really iconic people living here, such as the Cecil B. DeMille. The Cecil B. DeMille mansion was recently purchased by Angelina Jolie. And a portion of that property was lopped off by Cecil B. DeMille and given to his best friend, Charlie Chaplin. And so anyway, this visionary French director who worked for MGM Studios, basically, this was his creative vision. And he brought in artisans from Italy, from Germany, from France, and then he also collaborated with the studio set designers to really create this incredible, unique environment. I consider it to be more of a museum than a home, and it really definitely is a temple of old golden Hollywood. And, I can really tell you some of the illustrious characters who had lived here, and I'm just really, sort of, the contemporary mistress of all of these iconic superstars, both in film and cinema and in music. I mean, we have rock gods who lived here. So let me just really tell you from the very, very beginning, it's also known as the Norma Talmadge Estate. And Norma Talmadge was the preeminent movie star of the silent era. And so she lived here with her husband, Joseph Schenck, who happened to have founded 20th Century Fox Studios. And they would entertain their best friends here, which included Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks. So later on, these best friends would really go on to, they founded United Artists Studios together. So this is a really incredible place of legend and lore. I mean, you had people like Bogey and Bacall living here. This was the original Hollywood, and Wilshire Boulevard in the old historical Wilshire Boulevard district was where you really had all the stars really hanging out in places like Perino's or the Coconut Grove inside the Ambassador Hotel. So, it's really a place that's teeming with history. So are there ghosts and spirits living in the Cedars? I would say definitely yes, because my housekeeper has seen 3 of them already.
That makes you wonder, who are the ghosts?
Well, I feel really privileged and honored to really be at the Cedars as her current mistress and her current chatelaine, if you will, because this is a magical vortex where so many famous people have lived here. And I was really told by an energy worker friend of mine who walked in and immediately said, this really is a magical vortex. And always over the decades, famous people, the accomplished greats, have always been drawn to the energy of the Cedars because it sits on this very magical hill, which happens to be a power point of Los Angeles. So there's an energy that runs through the Cedars, and so many creative energies have really, lived here, come through here. And I'm just really very honored to really be a part of that creative lineage. So let me just really tell you from the beginning. So Maurice Tournier, who was a visionary screenwriter and director for MGM, built it. And, so he decided to really sell it before it was completely finished. And the reason why he was, his wife in Paris was threatening to divorce him. He got into a tiff with Louis B. Mayer and Samuel Goldwyn. So he basically sold the property, which used to be on 15 glorious acres with, the main gate right at Los Feliz. And so the house really sits on top of this hill. And so it just really had terrace fountains and gorgeous gardens. There was a lake at the bottom of the hill. It was just really, she was considered to have been the grande dame of her day. So after Norma Talmadge and Joe Schenck lived here, I believe Errol Flynn lived here. And after Errol Flynn, Howard Hughes lived here. And you can just even look it up on the internet. And it just really showed this address as his primary residence in the early 30s.
I remember something about just having an address like that. He was just so reclusive, elusive, and just eccentric. And I can imagine having Howard Hughes, this address, that address, and he could just make up his own address. I mean, he was just.
No, I think the reclusiveness and the eccentricity came much later. This was in the early 30s when he was really, trying to make it as a movie producer, and he was dating all these glamorous movie stars back in those days. So that was really long before he kind of got very weird and eccentric, So Howard Hughes lived here. And he used to love playing the grand piano in my solarium. And the guy who delivered the piano to him was none other than a struggling opera, singer by the name of Mario Alonso, who eventually became very famous, as you know. Yes. So then the horror star who played Count Dracula, Bela Lugosi, lived here. And because he lived here, Johnny Depp, decades later, lived here to vibe in on Bela Lugosi for his role as Ed Wood in that movie, Ed Wood, by Tim Burton. And if you remember, Martin Landau, gave an award-winning performance as Dracula, or as, Bela Lugosi, actually, in that movie. And he won the Best Supporting Actress for the whole year. So then, basically Marilyn Monroe used to really love partying here. And then in the 60s, it became this really incredible, iconic rock palace. So you had, all the super rock gods living here, from Jim Morrison to Jimi Hendrix to Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. Andy Warhol used to really stay here when he came to visit from the East Coast, because don't forget, the Velvet Underground was unofficially his band, with Lou Reed. And then you had Bob Dylan living here. You had Van Morrison living here. You had the Rolling Stones and Brian Jones living here. You had John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas living here. And then in 1968, the iconic movie Easy Rider was filmed here. And so Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda lived here. And as a matter of fact, all the New Orleans scenes from the movie Easy Rider was filmed between the foyer, the library, and the living room, where you have the iconic columns, the gilded columns. So they made that movie here. And I want to backtrack a little bit. Part of the, sort of one of the great cinematic greats of all time was Sunset Boulevard. So Sunset Boulevard was in fact partially filmed here. And remember, it really, had some immortal lines like Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. That was from Sunset Boulevard. So that was Gloria Swanson's comeback, and she starred opposite a very hunky William Holden. And in the end, she shoots him dead, if you remember, when he, starts to leave her. So, and then, so they had Cecil B. DeMille come in with a cameo role to entice her to come downstairs, where she was really, in full delusional hallucinations and everything else. And so she saunters down the stairs, and Cecil B. DeMille said, lights, camera, action. So then she thinks that, she's being filmed. So she just really comes down the stairways. And at the end, she says, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up now. So that is a very iconic movie, Sunset Boulevard. So in part, that was filmed here as well. So the house has really so many, iconic, personalities, superstars, musical royalty who lived here. And so it's always attracted really the top of the line creative people and creative artists. And, So I'm just really happy to really be her temporal steward.
That's amazing. And I was joking earlier about the hotel part. I know this is one of the best places, and what you did to it was amazing. We'll get into that in just a minute. But first,
well, thank you.
First,
well, I was told that I created a work of art within a work of art. In other words, when I bought the Cedars, probably close to 17 years ago, I knew that it was a stewardship. It was something that I had to be prepared for, because it's an undertaking. When you buy a house of this nature, you're just really not buying an ordinary house. You're really, undertaking a piece of history. It's a bona fide museum. And as a matter of fact, part of my legacy in the future, but I'm in the process of forming the Sue Wong Legacy Foundation. And as a matter of fact, as my gift to the world, I intend to really bequeath this really beautiful temple and palace, because that's what it is. It really is a very regal palace. I intend to really bequeath this, and make this into a historical museum for future generations to enjoy.
That is amazing. I took into it. We'll get to that in just 1 minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here at iconic fashion designer Sue Wong here on the Mike Wagner Show. Also taking on the project called the Cedars. It's just a fantastic piece of work, and there was a lot of work that had to be done to it. And of course, tell us about what was at one moment that influenced you into taking on the Cedars, and what kind of work did you do to make the Cedars as is today?
Well, I basically took it, from a haunted house, a haunted palace, and I really restored it to its former grandeur with a patina of antiquity attached to it. So because I wanted to really, keep the historical aspect. I have antique gold as opposed to really bright brassy gold. So, none of the frescoes, the decoupage, the gilded, ceilings, the stencil hand-painted beams, none of it really had been touched for about 86 years before I really came into, before I really became her chatelaine, so to speak. So I basically restored all the beauty of the Cedars. And she's an extraordinary home, because there's no home like it whatsoever in all of Hollywood. Like I said, she was considered to have been the grande dame of her heyday, because, I think what makes her really special and magical is the fact that another artist. And then, I'm an artist myself. So I came in and I restored all the beauty. And then I proceeded to basically furnish her. So I went shopping all over the world, from England to Morocco to, Paris, where I found all the beautiful French Art Deco, for instance. And then I also, bought a pair of actual Bavarian throne chairs from the late Baroque era. and they were in a museum in Montreal, and then they got requisitioned for sale in Paris. So the antiques dealer that I was working with found them for me, and they also cost me a king's ransom. but I just really thought that they were necessary to really anchor the living room. I mean, the living room is also known as the ballroom, and it's probably about 2,000 square feet in the sense of many people's homes. Yes, the entire square footage of this home is about 10,000 square feet. And I actually have a 3-house compound here because I have the Cedars at 10,000 square feet. Then I have the guest house, which we're in right now, because my accomplice, Freya, lives here, Freya Pruitt. And then I bought the house next door to the Cedars, which used to be the staff quarters, and that was built in 1930. And I bought that originally for my mother, and she lived there the last 9 years of her life. So I basically, bought as many pieces of the Cedars that was available. And, so she used to be really this grand property, but unfortunately over the years, a lot of the land was really sold off. So I probably have about 3/4 of an acre between the 3 houses at this point.
Wow, that is amazing. Amazing. I don't know if I could handle 3 houses like that, but when you took on the Cedars, what was like the most challenging part of restoring the Cedars? Like a room or just an adventure or something? What was like the most challenging part? Like room wise?
Well, fortunately, I hired Zoltan Pop and his, group, his artisans. It's Artisan Restoration, is his company's name. And he is a trained academic artist from Budapest. And he restored a lot of the palaces in Budapest, as well as historical buildings in Vienna. So he's really the top restoration expert here in Los Angeles. So I was able to solicit his help. And, there's all kinds of really academic things that you have to know, such as using what kinds of paint, what kinds of solvents, all of it. So, I think just really keeping the historical aspect of it, the integrity of the history, while just really preserving what was really set forth almost a century ago. I mean, 1921, this is 2020. So she's about to really have her, the 100-year anniversary of her birth. And I think of her as a gorgeous grande dame. And she's very elegant. You don't really see homes like her anymore. And there's no other Cedars because no other house really has the details. I've been inside this Cecil B. DeMille mansion, which Angelina bought about a year or a year and a half ago. It doesn't hold a matchstick to the candle of the Cedars because there are no historical details. The sconces are just really ordinary, contemporary. There aren't any really gorgeous ceilings that are ornate. It just, to me, looks like Better Homes and Gardens, but this looks like a palazzo, and it is a palace.
It is a palace. And how many bedrooms and bathrooms does this place have?
It's got, I believe, 6 bedrooms and 8 baths.
Wow, that is amazing.
And 10,000 square feet.
Nice, very nice. I think a lot of people are going to come over and check it out. So we're going to.
Well, it's not a museum yet. It's still my personal residence, but in the future it will be.
I know. I was kidding about the part coming in, but yes, a museum indeed. And what do you have coming up? We'll talk about it in just a minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studio offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with iconic designer from Los Angeles, Sue Wong, here on the Mike Wagner Show, talking about the Cedars and the big project she's undertaken. And, of course, in terms of the Cedars, you talked about coming up is the 100th anniversary of the Cedars. And what are your future plans coming up for 2020 and beyond besides the 100th anniversary? And what other projects do you plan on undertaking in the future?
Well, I just really came off of a really glamorous Hollywood Oscar party. I hosted my own star-studded Oscar party, and then whammo, the coronavirus hits. So everybody was really quarantined for about 3 months. And then I got really bored, and if I hadn't really become a fashion designer, I probably would have been an interior designer. I have, besides this 3-house compound of the Cedars, by the way, I have now, I have 3 other houses. And, I have 3 that I live in. So I have the Cedars, I have my Malibu art house, which is nothing like the Cedars. It's completely contemporary because I have a very extensive 200-piece art collection, modern art collection. So I showcase all of that there. And that house I basically designed from scratch, basically. I did the architecture, I designed my own gardens, I designed the interiors. So that's really the 3 houses I call, by the way, body, mind, and spirit. So the Cedars, to me, is the corporeal body of a beautiful woman, and the art house, it's spelled in the German manner, ARTHAUS. So art house is really my realm of the mind because it's all modern art. The furnishings are very sculptural, sort of mid-century, mid-20th century, with iconic sculptural chairs such as the egg chair, such as the womb chair, and it's just very, very different. It's right in front of the ocean. It has 180-degree white water in your face view because it's perched, probably about 60 feet up on a cliff. And, it's just spectacular in a different sort of way. So it's very modernistic. And all 3 houses are, they're still me. They're just different aspects of me. And then the last house is really my spiritual sanctuary, which is really on the far-flung east coast of the island of Maui. And, so I'm really in the middle of this beautiful, pristine rainforest. And I have 3 properties there, but the main one where my house is right now, I wouldn't even call that the main one, but the one that my house is on 6.5 acres, and I designed all the gardens there. They're just really glorious and colorful with tropical flowers, and I have probably 2 acres of bananas. That's probably on 6.5 acres. And guess who my next door neighbor is? My next door neighbor is the actor Woody Harrelson. So, so when Woody and I are both in, the hood together, we always get, together and have dinner together. So he's really quite a colorful character. And then in addition to that, I have this incredible, magical 35 oceanfront acres, which I bought from the Nature Conservancy, and it had been donated by one of the members of the Mellon family, Cordelia Mellon May. And so upon that, I'm going to really manifest this incredible vision one of these days. And then recently, to really, do something, that was really more fun and not really be focused on the pandemic, I bought this beautiful 1928 Spanish hacienda that's just really kind of 5 minutes away from the Cedars. And I'm refurbishing that. And that is really going to be the first Sue Wong signature designer home because that's what I'm going into. I actually, retired from fashion about 3 years ago because I had really done it for decades. And I really had made my fortune. I really was very, very successful because I was designing professionally since I was 19 years old. And it had no longer become a challenge because, after decades of doing fashion, I really wanted another modality of expression. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go into Sue Wong designer homes, signature homes, because I have a very identifiable signature. I mean, when I was doing clothes, if my clothes were on display on the floor at Neiman Marcus or Bloomingdale's or, Saks Fifth Avenue, all of those were my top accounts because I sold to all of the top boutiques, the top department stores, as well as to 27 different countries throughout the world. But if, one of them had my gown on display, you could really see right across to the opposite side of the room where the mannequin was on display, and people would say, that is a Sue Wong, so I want to now do homes that also really bear my signature of glamour, of beauty, of magic, because my mantra is beauty, magic, transformation, because what I stand for and what I create is beauty, and the alchemy of beauty in itself is really magical. And the magic, of my creations really have the power to transform because that's what beauty and magic does. So when a woman, would put on a Sue Wong, she would be magically transformed into this goddess. And when I was really doing fashion, that basically was really my mission, is to really connect women with their feminine divine, that sort of like eternal feminine element, which was really honored through my clothes because they were quintessentially feminine, romantic, beautiful, evocative of the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, or of the Victorian era, because I think at my core, I'm one of these, diehard, hopeless romantics, so I've always gravitated towards the era of the 1920s and 1930s. And of course, I owned a quintessential 1920s glamorous Hollywood home, the Cedars.
That is amazing. Just asked about what era would you live in, but I think you answered that question very well. And when I think about all the homes you have and all the work you put in and the clothes and everything, I said to myself, wow, that is very amazing. I got to say that. Very amazing.
Thank you. Well, so eventually this will also morph into Sue Wong boutique hotels, but I'm starting with the signature homes. And, I have other huge projects that I'm doing. I think I mentioned, I'm establishing the Sue Wong Legacy Foundation. So on top of really bequeathing the Cedars, I have really archived over 11,000 of my favorite designs in the last 20 years. So along with that will be all of my library of original sketches and all my original swatches that I created, for my motifs. So I'm going to be starting the Sue Wong Fashion Museum.
Nice. Very nice.
And that will be like perhaps an adjunct museum to the Cedars. But, I have some really glorious, museum pieces. And as a matter of fact, many of them are considered to be really works of art. And as a matter of fact, back in February, the beginning of February, I was really the featured artist for the LA Art Show. And the LA Art Show gave me this really incredible booth that was probably like 2,000 square feet. And I was placed right in, front and center. And I showed over 70 of my iconic pieces on mannequins, both inside and all around the booth. And I had huge posters, excuse me, of my work blown up. And it was just really a spectacular art fashion installation. So what I'm going to do with the museum is that, I hope to really inspire future generations of fashion designers long after I'm gone, because, my library will be made available to them. My 11,000 piece library of archival samples, and hopefully there will be residency programs set up, for work study and residency for future budding fashion designers from all over the world, because very few designers really have my stamina or my track record of really being, on the scene, actively engaged for 50 years, actually. I started out when I was very young in fashion as a teenager already. So I have this really vast knowledge, so you might say that I have probably several degrees or several PhDs in fashion or in the visual arts, because I don't really consider myself to just be to being a fashion designer. I actually am a visual artist, and I consider myself to be a creative intuitive, because intuitively I can do so many different things, such as really design, homes, design furniture, design gardens, design floral arrangements, art direct a photo shoot, basically cull a fashion show together. I also do writing, I do a number of different things, but it's all from here, because it's not the type of knowledge or wisdom that you can go to school and learn. I mean, all of this is really inborn knowledge. And I have a theory, if you believe in the concept, let's say, of reincarnation, I've been basically an artist, a creative artist in many different disciplines over many different lifetimes. So that's why I can really tap into my DNA memory, so to speak, and all this knowledge really comes to me, including fashion design. I had never really designed evening gowns before, for instance, but over 20 years ago, I fell upon a fluke, and I taught myself how to do design evening clothing in one season. So you don't really do that unless you really have this sort of higher knowledge that is contained within yourself, so it's a soul knowledge or a soul quality that I'm happy to have.
That is amazing. I mean, all the stuff you accomplished is just amazing. And one more question: what haven't you done?
I'm sorry?
I guess another question I had when you were around the accomplishments: what haven't you done yet?
Well, I'm also going to make a movie of my life, and it's going to be called Red Lotus. Red is a sacred color to the Chinese. It represents life. Lotus is actually my Chinese namesake. My Chinese name is Huang, in Mandarin, Wang is pronounced Huang, which means royal. And then Sue is Xiao in Mandarin. It means, elegant. And then Lin is the lotus flower. So my Chinese name translated is Royal Elegant Lotus. So basically, I'm going to really make a movie of my life, because I have really one of those transformative stories, which basically I'm totally self-made. I came from less than nothing, growing up in Maoist China up to age 5.5. And, my grandmother would chase rats around the house. And that's how I really survived, because there was scarcity and there was nothing after the revolution. There was famine, there was hunger, there was starvation. So then at age 5.5, my mother and I, she took a great leap of faith by trading in her wedding jewelry sewn into a pillow and handing it to the border guard, who released us to safety. And we had relatives on the other side in Hong Kong taking us in. So we lived there for about a year before my father petitioned for us to come here. And I met my father for the first time when I came to America, because my mother was pregnant with me and she couldn't travel. So, right before the revolution before the People's Republic of China was declared, he quickly fled and came back to America. And subsequently, China closed its doors. My little grandmother, whom, I love dearly, and my mother and I were trapped, so we really literally had to escape. I grew up in the ghetto, so, I think with the perseverance and will, I believe that you can really create the destiny of your dreams, of your choice. So that's what I did. So I don't really want to hear, stories about people just really being defeated because they really, grew up in adverse circumstances. I certainly did, My father finally built his business in Culver City. And, so I grew up in suburbia, but, downstairs was the business, and upstairs we lived in a little apartment. And that's how I grew up, helping my parents work in their Chinese laundry until I was 16. And then I, got into fashion by being chosen to represent my high school for the May Company Teen Board. So, I originally wanted to be a fine artist, but my parents would have, nothing to do with that. So I went into fashion as a sideline. But I don't really have any regrets because it's been a great career for me. It always challenges me at my creativity, and it really fueled the creative fire that I've always had.
And you have a career in just a few minutes with Sue Wong here on the Mike Wagner Show, iconic fashion designer, and also working on the Cedars project. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
I don't know. I know who was really a big influence for me, in life, to really have the kind of wisdom that I have now at my age. I would say, creatively, maybe the artist friend of mine by the name of Tomito Keikos, who basically passed away now, but he was really the first artist who basically awakened the artist in myself. And then in terms of teachers, there were two 20th century teachers that are very important to me. And one is Carl Jung, who basically, founded Jungian analysis. And the other one is Joseph Campbell. So Joseph Campbell taught follow your bliss, and everything else will really fall into place. And that's what I did. And so when I set out early in life, I didn't really set out to really be the most successful or the most wealthy fashion designer, but I wanted to be the best fashion designer. And so that's what I did. I basically lived my art. And in a way, my life has been my art, and my art has really been my life. So you could really say that I'm really, a pure artist through and through. And that's really the enlivened life, the passionate life, and the awakened life. And that's the way I like to live.
And that is fantastic advice. You can give that 8 point.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. And once again, Sue Wong, iconic fashion designer, and also working on a Cedars project and a Mike Wagner Show. A big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to
Mike.
2020. And just a few more things. Tell us once again your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you, and where can people check out your works, or even say, or purchase, or just check out?
Well, I'm very active on Facebook. I have a really unique Facebook. It's Sue Wong Fashion. My personal page is very alive. I post on philosophy, on spirituality, on fashion, on beauty, on architecture, on cinema, on literature, on anything that really floats my boat, but anything to do with culture and beauty. That's what I'm really drawn to. My Instagram is also Sue Wong Fashion. And you can also really go on my website to see the celebrities that I've dressed, to see examples of my work, and that's basically SueWong.com.
That's fantastic. Big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to coming in soon and do us keep this up to date. Love to have back on 2020 and beyond. You've been fantastic.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for having me on your show.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.